She worked 3 jobs, slept 4 hours a night, and still couldn't afford to buy her kids new shoes. Then one stranger walked into her diner and left a $10,000 tip that changed everything. In the heart of Detroit, a single mother wakes up before sunrise every day. She works 3 jobs, barely eats, and sleeps just a few hours a night, all to keep the lights on and food on the table for her 2 kids. She never complains. She never quits. But one snowy Thursday afternoon, a stranger walked into her life. He ordered a grilled cheese sandwich and left behind something that would change her life forever. This is the true story of sacrifice, struggle, and a $10,000 tip that gave one mother a second chance at life. Chapter 1. The Struggle. It was 5:30 a.m. when Maria Gonzalez quietly slipped out of her small 2-bedroom apartment in Detroit, trying not to wake her 2 children, Lena, 10, and Alex, 6. She kissed their foreheads gently, clutching a bag with a peanut butter sandwich she'd packed the night before. Her day was just beginning, but it had already been hard for years. Maria worked 3 jobs, cleaning offices from 6 to 9 a.m., waiting tables at a diner from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and delivering groceries from 4 to 8 p.m. There were no weekends, no holidays. Every dollar went toward rent, food, school supplies, and clothes that fit her kids as they grew faster than she could afford. She wasn't always like this. Maria once studied accounting and dreamed of becoming a CPA. But her life took a hard turn when her husband, Marco, died in a car accident 5 years ago. He was the family's sole breadwinner while she stayed home with the kids. Suddenly, everything changed. With no college degree and 2 young children, Maria had to become both mother and father overnight. They lost their house, then their car, then her pride. But she never gave up. Chapter 2. The Diner. Maria's middle job was at Rosie's Diner, a quiet 50s-style spot where truckers, teachers, and the occasional tourist would stop by. She worked the late morning to early afternoon shift, always wearing a faded pink apron and a tired but sincere smile. "Table 5, eggs sunny side up, 2 coffees," shouted Greg, the cook. Maria moved swiftly, balancing plates with grace developed from years of repetition. Every customer got the same treatment, kindness, no matter how tired or overwhelmed she felt. The regulars loved her. "She's the heart of this place," Rosie would say. "If I could afford to, I'd double her pay." But the diner was just getting by. Tips were unpredictable. Some days $10, others barely enough to pay for the gas to deliver groceries afterward. One particular Thursday in February, it was unusually quiet. Snow flurries danced outside the window, and the streets were nearly empty. Maria was folding napkins when a man walked in, alone, wearing a black coat and carrying a laptop bag. He looked out of place, not quite a trucker, not quite a local. "Hi there," she greeted him, leading him to a booth near the window. "Coffee to start?" "Sure," he replied with a polite smile. "Black." Chapter 3. The Stranger. The man didn't speak much. He sat for over an hour, sipping coffee, occasionally typing on his laptop. Maria checked on him a few times, offered a refill, and eventually brought him a simple meal, grilled cheese and tomato soup. They exchanged light conversation. Nothing deep. He asked about the snow, how long she'd worked there, and if it was always this quiet. Maria, used to small talk, gave vague answers. She didn't reveal much. People didn't usually care. But something about him felt different. He listened, really listened, when she spoke. When he finished his meal, he asked for the check. $11.47, Maria said, placing it gently on the table. He smiled, pulled out a black card, and handed it to her. She rang it up, returned the receipt, and wished him a nice day. What she didn't see, until 10 minutes later, was what he wrote on the line for the tip. Chapter 4. The Tip. Maria was clearing his table when her eyes caught the receipt. She froze. Tip, $10,000. Total, $10,011.47. Her breath caught in her chest. She looked around, thinking it was a mistake. Maybe he meant to write $10 and just hit an extra 0, or 2, or 3. She ran to the door, but the man was gone. "Rosie," she cried out, "come look at this." Rosie took one glance at the receipt and gasped. "Oh my God! Maria, is this real?" They called the bank. It was real. The man had left no contact information. Just a signature. And a note on the napkin. For the mother who never gave up. Keep going. Chapter 5. Tears and Truth. Maria broke down in tears right there in the diner. Years of exhaustion, stress, hunger, and quiet desperation all came pouring out in one moment of disbelief and relief. She went home early that day, Rosie insisted. That night, Maria sat on the couch with Lena and Alex curled up beside her. She told them the story. Told them how someone, some angel of a man, saw her, really saw her, and gave her something she never dared to ask for. A break. Chapter 6. The Turning Point. Maria didn't blow the money. That wasn't her. She paid off 4 months of overdue rent. Got the car fixed. Bought her kids new winter coats. Then, for the first time in nearly 6 years, she enrolled in night classes at the local community college, restarting her dream of becoming an accountant. She quit her morning and evening jobs and kept working at Rosie's part-time. She studied late into the night while her kids slept beside her on the couch, books and notebooks spread across the coffee table. It wasn't easy, but it was possible now. That tip wasn't just money. It was time, dignity, hope. Chapter 7. The Interview. 2 years later, Maria stood in front of a polished desk at a Detroit accounting firm, resume in hand. She wore a second-hand blazer and clutched a folder of certificates. "Tell me, Ms. Gonzalez," the interviewer said, "what inspired you to go back to school?" Maria smiled softly. "A stranger once gave me a $10,000 tip at a diner. He didn't know me, but he believed in me. That belief changed my life." She got the job. Chapter 8. Paying it forward. Maria never forgot the stranger. She didn't know his name or where he came from, but his gesture rippled through her life like a stone in still water. Years later, when she became financially stable, she started a small scholarship fund at her community college for single mothers going back to school. She named it the Tip Jar Fund. Every year, 1 or 2 women got the same break she once received. And every time Maria handed them the check, she told them the same thing. "Someone did this for me. Now it's your turn." Chapter 9. Full Circle. 10 years passed. Lena graduated high school with honors and went on to study engineering. Alex loved computers and dreamed of working at Google. Maria had a quiet, beautiful life. Not rich, but full. One fall evening, she was invited to speak at a fundraiser for the college. She told her story of loss, survival, and one man's unexpected kindness. The audience gave her a standing ovation. Backstage, a man approached her. Older now, with some gray in his beard. He extended his hand. "You may not remember me," he said. "But I remember you. Table by the window. Black coffee. February snow." Maria's eyes widened. Her hand flew to her mouth. "You," she whispered. He smiled. "You looked exhausted. But you still smiled. I never forgot that." Maria burst into tears. She finally got to say thank you. Final chapter. The receipt that changed a life. The framed receipt still hangs in Maria's living room, next to her diploma, her kids' photos, and a hand-painted quote Lena made for her 40th birthday. "Keep going, Mama." The tip was $10,000. But the real gift was believing she was worth saving. And she was.